Good morning. Welcome to this morning service. It's a special service, and that's why we have the shikia, the brocade pieces that cover the maijoku, wajoku, and the tables in front of Shinran, Renyo, Shotoku Taishi, and the seven patriarchs. The special service today is our BWA, our Buddhist Women's Association's memorial service. And so this is a service that remembers the members of the BWA who died in this past year. And it is also a service that remembers Eshinni, Shinran's wife, Kakushinni, their daughter, and Lady Takeko Kujo, who helped to build the BWI. I guess she may have started the Fujinkai Women's Association in the Honganji. So it's a special service that commemorates the lives of these individuals and remembers the important contributions that they made. We'll begin this morning service. We'll be reading Sambujo, Hyobyakumon, that states what we're about to observe, and then the reading of Juseike. So if you please join us in reading Juseike. Sorry, couldn't find the bachi. Today, on this occasion, the members of the San Jose Buddhist Church reverently come before me, the Buddha, with deepest reverence and thankfulness for the all-embracing wisdom and compassion of Amida. We reaffirm the three homages. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Again, good morning and welcome to this morning service. It is a memorial service again for the BWA, members of the BWA, and Kakushinni, Eshinni Kakushinni, and Lady Takeko Kujo. Eshinni was Shinnan's wife. We know, we are able to clearly establish that there was a person, Shinnan, who lived in 12th century Japan. Now, for us, it may seem odd that there was any question that there was such a person, but there was speculation that the writings of Shinnan, and it was not a real main kind of core idea or thinking, but there was a possibility that the writings of Shinnan were actually a compilation by several people, and that a single person named Shinnan may not have existed, but that his writings, his works were collected over time and compiled and put together into and put under this one name, one individual. So we learn or we are able to validate, or we're able to know for certain that there was a person called Shinnan who lived in 12th century Japan through the writings of Eshinni. And these writings of Eshinni, the letters of Eshinni to her daughter Kakushinni, were only discovered in the 1920s in a warehouse, a honganji. I kind of imagine either what's that warehouse series of what was that called? Or the Raiders of the Lost Ark. This very large warehouse filled with things that have been gathered over centuries, and way in the back is this fabled discovery of the letters of Eshinni. But I really don't know, probably not quite so dramatic. But it's through the discovery of these letters of Eshinni to her daughter Kakushinni that we are able to clearly establish the existence of a person, a Shinnan, who, of course, whose writings and whose teaching and understanding of the Buddha Dharma becomes a core of the Honganji. Yeah, it seems odd that for us, it's so matter of fact that we know who Shinnan is, and we know that Shinnan, when he was born, when he died, what years things happened, what year he went up to Hiezan, and we know this history of Shinnan. But again, fairly recently, only 100, well, I shouldn't say only 100, but now only 100 years ago, that discovery of Eshinni's letters determined that there was indeed a person named Shinnan. That's not all Eshinni life is appreciated for. She did a great deal to help Shinnan and it was not uncommon at that time for the head of a household to be a woman. So in the household of Shinnan, most likely it was Eshinni who was the person that led or the household. Her parents were, Eshinni's parents were landholders, the caretakers of a manor in Niigata. And so it was, and Shinnan was an exile in Niigata, whereas Eshinni, her family had been there for a long time, and she looked after the property that she had, a farm which had hands, people who needed to work the farm, to take care of the household. And again, the arrangements of family and people, households in that time is very different from what we uh, what we think of today. The households were often very kind of fluid. People would come in and out of a household in the sense that they would either come in uh, as a servant to work for the household, but these people were often treated as family. Uh, and Eshinni writes in her letters how she would have to take care of the people who had now uh, become attached to her household. Not her immediate relatives, but people who would have otherwise had no place to live or no way to feed themselves. So they were accepted to do work uh, for Eshinni. Not quite indentured servants because I don't think they had any obligation to anyone to serve. Uh, Not quite like slaves, where they could actually transfer people from one household to another. In one of her letters, Eshinni talks about the care of her concern for the care of the individuals in her household and how she would transfer to Kakushinni individuals that needed her care. Uh, Through these letters of Eshinni, we learn about Shinran and just have a real glimpse of Shinran's life at his as a I think the term was doso, as a kind of a priest of a temple whose responsibility was to recite the Nembutsu. So he wasn't a highly he wasn't a scholar of renown. He wasn't a person who had any great influence on his uh, but we learn of this through Eshinni's letters. We just get a real small glimpse of who Shinran was and what his life may have been like. Eshinni also shares a dream in her letters, and apparently this was uh, not uncommon, but to share that dream that she had was uncommon. And the dream was so powerful that she kept it to herself for many, many years. And it was a dream in which she saw uh, a, a being of light. And when she asked who that was, and these were several beings of light that appeared in this dream. And when she asked who this was, it was Shinran. And she already regarded uh, Shinran in very highly. I mean, this was, of course, her husband, but it was more than that. As a religious person, she held Shinran in very high esteem. Uh, and it was not until, again, the time of, in her letters to Kakushinni, that Eshinni shares this dream that she had many years ago of her husband as a bodhisattva. And she shares this with her daughter, Kakushinni. Today, as we observe this BWA memorial service, uh, Eshinni, Kakushinni, Lady Takeko Kujo, memorial service, we are mindful of their lives, but we also appreciate how much they have contributed to our understanding, certainly, but our appreciation as well, or most importantly, perhaps, appreciation for the Nembutsu. Again, these individuals, their contributions. I was intending to talk a little bit about Kakushinni, but Kakushinni's work to establish a mausoleum for her father after Shinnan died, to gather together the resources from the people in the Kanto region to support, to bring funds into Kyoto to build. And it was a very small mausoleum, but in the process of building that mausoleum, securing the resources to build that mausoleum. And again, it's not a huge thing like our Hondo, it's just a small building in which the ashes of Shinnon would be housed. She also secured the responsibility of her family and her descendants to be the caretaker of that mausoleum. And it seems like a kind of an odd thing that seems so important. But as the caretakers, and the term was rusushiki, as the caretakers of the mausoleum, they were responsible, of course, for the grave of Shinnan. And that position of rusushiki eventually becomes the position of the Gobonshu, truly the caretaker of the Honganji, not just the mausoleum, but the caretaker of the Honganji. The head priest of the Honganji, the religious head, chief of our religious tradition. So there's much to be grateful for as we remember these individuals. Again, the letters of Eshinni provide evidence that Shinnon existed 800 years ago, what his life was like, what the life of people living in Japan was like. And we're grateful for that insight that the letters of Eshinni provide. Okay, thank you very much. I forgot. We forgot to do golden chain. Nobody reminded me. Okay, we're going to do this backwards. There's no tradition that says you have to do this first. Okay, so golden chain. Maybe there is a tradition that you're supposed to do this first. Okay, if everybody would join in golden chain, please. I am a link in Amida's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amida's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Okay, thank you everybody. Hope to see you, no, not see you, but hope you join us again next week. And go to class, have fun. See you later. Bye-bye. Namanda, namanda.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning's special service. My name is Sumi Tanabe, and I am the religious chair for BWA. Women have played an important role in Jodo Shinshu. The Buddhist Women's Association has annually observed this memorial service in the afternoon. However, this year we are holding the service together with the usual 10:10 adult service. The service is not only to remember and celebrate the lives of Eshiniko, Kakushinni, Lady Takeko Kujo, and Lady Otani, but to honor those BWA members who have passed on since our last memorial service. Shinran was exiled to Echigo in northern Japan. While there, he married Eshiniko, who was a landowner, which allowed her and Shinran to survive and raise a family. Shinran pursued spreading the teaching of the Nembutsu. Kakushinni was about 9 or 10 years old when she moved to Kyoto with her parents. She married Hino Hirotsuna, and when he died, she went back to live with her parents. Eshinni, meanwhile, went back to Ichigo. Kakushinni stayed and took care of Shinran in his later years. Shinran died in 1263, and 3 years later, Kakushinni married Onomiya Zenin, who owned valuable property in Kyoto. Shinran's ashes were removed from their original site of interment at Otani to Zenon's estate. Some dedicated disciples of Shinran gave donations to construct the ancestral hall. This is the nucleus of Jodo Shinshu Wanji. We were scheduled to have Reverend Wanda as our guest speaker. However, she is unable to be with us. We are very fortunate in having Reverend Mikame as our speaker, and we are grateful that she was willing to fill in at such short notice. We will now continue with the service. The ministers will do Sambujo, Hyakukumon, and Okuyo. During the chanting, I will read the names of those BW members who have passed away.
Today, on this occasion, in the San Jose Buddhist Church Betsuin's Buddhist Women's Association's memorial service, Eshinni or Kakushinni and Lady Takeko Kujo memorial services, the members of the San Jose Buddhist Temple reverently come before me, the Buddha. With deepest reverence and thankfulness for the all-embracing wisdom and compassion of Amida, we reaffirm the three homages.
Alice Morita, Doris Kunimura, Molly Nakasaki, Eileen Serra, Mary Sugimoto, Aye Santo, Satsuki Santo, and Tamako Kubota. And now we will have Karen Akimoto, the Oshoko, representing the families of the deceased and the Buddhist Women's Association. Thank you, Karen. We will now continue with the three treasures by Rinban Sakamoto, and he will introduce our speaker.
If you please join now in the reading of the three treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life, and now we living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One, now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves our supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of thy doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in your life of harmony, in a spirit of universal brotherhood, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning's service. It is unusual that we are observing this BWA memorial service during this hour. Normally, we would have this BWA service as a separate service that the BWA would observe in the afternoon. But things are changing, and hopefully I will be able to return to what we have been familiar with in the past. But I wanted to have all of us hear today's message together, that the life of Eshinni and Kakushinni and the contributions of people like Takeko Kujo and also the members of the BWA are so important in shaping the way that we're able to enjoy and understand the Buddha Dharma. And so I thought that it would be nice if we could gather together along with the BWA to hear today's message. And this morning, as Sumi mentioned, we were originally planning to ask Reverend Utsumi Wondra to be our speaker, but unfortunately, she was unable to join us today. But because of that, her inability to join us, we have the great pleasure of hearing Mikami Sensei deliver this morning's message. All of you know that Mikami Sensei has been with us for a little over a year now, and most of that time has been in quarantine, in shelter in place. Her stay here at the Betsuin has been moving from here to her apartment and coming back here and then going to the apartment. I'm sure, well, we were thinking there was going to be many opportunities for her to visit other temples, to see the Bay Area, to visit Monterey, she did get to go to the Sierras for a little bit to spend a couple days camping with some friends. But other than that, she's been from here to her apartment to here, and not a real exciting stay yet with us here in San Jose. But of course, in that time, it has not been just going from the temple uh, to her apartment and back again. There have been so many experiences that she has had to become familiar with, things that demands of the temple work that she has had to respond to. And we're happy that she continues to serve as a minister at the Betsuin. And this morning we are especially uh, happy to have her as our speaker for this important memorial service, BWA memorial service, Eshinni Kakushinni Lady Takeko Kujo service. よろしくお願いします。
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me for the special service as a guest speaker. I'm really happy to be here as a speaker. Okay, so at the beginning of a Dharma talk, so I'd like to share the Wasan written by our founder Shinran Shonin. So please show me Gasho. Of those who encounter power of the primal vow, not one passes by in vain. They are filled with a treasure ocean of virtues. The defiled waters of their blind passions, not separated from it. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much. Ohayou gozaimasu. Okay. So, as Rinban mentioned before, so today is an important opportunity for us to commemorate Eshinni Ko, who is Shinran's wife, and Kakushinni Ko, who is their youngest daughter, and also Lady Kujo Takeko Kujo, who is the founder of our BWA, and also our BWA members who passed away past few years. So let us appreciate their contributions they gave to our tradition. So today, especially, I'd like to focus on Eshinni and Kakushinni. So before starting the service, I wonder which picture is Kakushinni and Eshinni. So and Eshinni is the right side. Yeah. So and then she's wearing the blue scarf, and left side. She is Kakushinni, her daughter. Yeah. Yeah, I mixed up that which one is Kakushinni and Eshinni, but yeah, it's clear now. So yeah, there are actually many. So there are actually many mysteries about Shinran Shonin, as you know. So this is because he hardly mentioned about himself in his writings. So Shinran Shonin was so humble that he just focused on telling about this Nimbus teaching to everyone. So there was no document to tell about his life and his background. And then Eshinni and Kakushinni are the key people actually to make these mysteries clear. So it reminds me what I learned when I was in Chiba. So as I said before, so I have taught English as in a small public high school in Japan as an English teacher for only a short period of time before moving to America. So students were learning English by reading various kinds of like a textbook, various kinds of topics and stories in the textbooks. So I really enjoy teaching my students. I really enjoy teaching my students English, but also learning new things through those stories. So today I'd like to share one of them, which was very interesting topic. So it was about all parts. Have you heard of it? Maybe not. So, all parts is like this. So all parts stands for out of place artifacts. Again, out of place artifacts. This is all parts. Says there are artifacts discovered in places where they ought not to have been found, right? So they introduced some examples of these all parts in the world in the textbook for like high school student, second year school students. Yeah, and I'd like to share one of them today. So, in the 1920s, maybe about 100 years ago, some strange circles were found in the desert of Jordan. The scientists used satellites to take photographs of some of these strange artifacts. They are now called big circles of the Middle East. According to some people, they are so large that they could only have been created if they had been planted from high in the sky. 12 circles have been found in Jordan, one in Syria and two in Turkey, and the same in the same area in about the same time as Kimbaya and Mayan civilizations. The Peruvian created the Nazca lines. As you know, this is maybe famous, drawing the birds and animals so large that you can only see them clearly from the air. So, like the big circles, some believe that they couldn't have been created without the help of aerial view. These big circles are low walls made of stone, while some are 3 feet, 3 feet high, 3 feet high, so high, yeah, and they are only a few centimeter tall. Yeah, these others only a maybe a few inches tall. Yeah, some are so tall, and some are really short. They're about 440 yards in diameter, so big, yeah, and almost perfectly round, right? Some are big and small, some are short and tall, but it's a really big circles around in Jordan. No one knows for sure that what the purpose of these circles could have been, or how they were built, because they were low and lack openings. It is believed that they are not only not used for keeping animals. The circles would have required careful planning, maybe even from the air. When you try to draw something big, right, like this, maybe more big my hands, but we can somehow imagine how we can draw it. Maybe we can use a helicopter and then maybe draw the circle, yeah, with a special, I don't know, machine. But how did it get there at the time? Some people jump to conclusions, and some that say that Asian people were visited by aliens. Other people said that all parts are all fakes. No matter what position we take, we have to admit that there are mysteries which simply cannot be explained at the present time. So this is one. This is one of the examples of all parts. Did you did you did you did you understand what I said? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, when I read this story at school, high school, with the kids, I imagine our tradition may have been regarded as one of the all parts. So all parts, yeah, one again, are the something which were discovered in a place where they ought not to have been found, right? In Judo Shishu tradition, as you know, we are assured to be born in the Pure Land after our life by Amida, which is not our self power, but by Amida Buddha's outer power. So this teaching was extraordinary teaching at the time for the at the time, because the self power teaching was common at the time in the past in the Buddhist teaching. So, and every living thing is included within its grasp. That means not only those who live in the past, but also people living in this world are included in this teaching in this grasp. But there are many mysteries that until about the founder Shinran Shoni. So I can say Jodo Shinshu is in a sense, it's in a sense maybe one of the all parts. So people have no clue of all parts because no one knows what these are created for and who created and and when they created, because no one remained letters or documents to describe about each of them for the record. But in the ancient time, there was no letters, and maybe no only limited people could write. And if there are some documents, there are some documents. Only few people can interpret their messages. So maybe it is a miracle for us to know something historical nowadays. So I feel like all parts made me realize what we already know might be just only one part of a whole history in this world. So I have a question for you. Who is the founder of our tradition? Yes, Shinran Shoni. This is really easy question, sorry. But this is actually something we shouldn't take it for granted, because nobody was sure if Shinran Shoni was really existed, Shinran Shoni really existed, or not until about 100 years ago. And uh, the existence of Eshinni was not officially recognized until 1921, with the discovery of Eshinni's letters to her daughter Kakushinni. Until this discovery, there are those in Japan. There are those in Japan who discounted Shinran's marriage, those who doubted the existence of Eshinni, and those who even doubted the existence of Shinran Shoni. Eshinni's letters serve to clarify all those disbeliefs. If there was nothing to prove his existence, Shinran Shoni's existence, we couldn't know who was the founder of our tradition. Maybe we could not know what the sorry what the mother temple in Kyoto was built for, and maybe we wouldn't know for whom we could honko service. So otherwise, our tradition maybe had lots of mysteries, like all parts. But fortunately, it wasn't. So in writing to her daughter, Eshinni's letters revealed important facts of Shinran Shonin's personal life, as well as his spiritual journey. And this letter shows us the Shinran Shonin and Eshinni were not just a normal couple, but they were a special Nembutsu couple who had gotten through many difficulties and hardships with appreciating Nembutsu as their emotional support. They are tightly tied by Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu. In Shinran Shonin's last year, he lived in Kyoto, and his youngest daughter Kakushinni took care of him. Even when Eshinni was informed of the passing of Shinran Shonin through her daughter Kakushinni's letter, Eshinni had no doubt that the father Shinran Shonin was born in Pure Land. She must have missed him a lot. But what made her feel so sure? That is because she had known that Shina Shonin valued the Pure Land teaching and Nembutsu in his life. Eshinni had seen his attitude toward Nembutsu teaching and touched his way of living directly for a long time. Here, I'd like to share the story of Eshinni's dream in her letter. One night, she had the dream while they were there at the place called Sakai village at the Shimotsuma in Hitachi province, now known as Ibaraki Prefecture. So it seemed that there was a dedication ceremony for the temple building. She wanted to see the building closer. The building stood facing east, and it was apparently on the eve of the ceremony. In front of the building, there were lantern burning bright, and to the west of the lantern, in front of the building, there were two Buddhist images suspended from the horizontal part of what seemed to be shrine gate, torii. In one there was no face to Buddha's image, but only a core light, as if it were the radiance of the Buddha's head. Distinct features could not be seen, and the light was only a thing there. In the other, there was a distinct face to the Buddhist image. She wondered what the Buddhist images these were, and the person who answered, she had no correction. She had no recollection who the person was, but the person said, "The one that is only light is none other than Master Honen. He is Bodhisattva Seshi." When she asked who the other was, the person said, "That is the Bodhisattva Kannon. That is none other than the priest Zenshin, which means Shinan Shonin." So for your information, so in Jodo Shinshu, as you can see, so we enshrine only the statue of Amida Buddha in the Hondo at the center of the inner altar. But some Buddhist school enshrine the statue of Amida and the Bodhisattva Seishi and Kannon, which represent Amida's wisdom and compassion, like this. Yeah, actually, this is the image of the statue of Amida in Kannon and Seishi. Yeah, I tried to I print out the picture image of these three statue, but yeah, the photocopier machine, yeah, copier doesn't work well, so I didn't work well. So sorry, I drew it by myself. Sorry, yeah, it's very good, not good, so not very good. But here, someone taught Eshinni the Honen is the Seishi. Seishi is the left side of the Amida Buddha, and Honen is the Seishi, Bodhisattva Seishi, the incarnation of Seishi, which represents Amida's wisdom. And someone told her that her husband Shinan Shonin is an incarnation of Kannon, which represent the Amida's compassion. Yeah, wisdom and compassion, which were separated, right? So upon hearing this, she was shocked out of her sleep, and she realized that it had been a dream. She had heard that such things are not to be spoken to other people, but she did tell her husband, Shinan Shonin, the part about Honen Shonin, Master Honen Shonin, and he said, among dreams, among the Shinan Shonin said, among dreams there are many different types, but this dream must be true. There are many other instances of dreams in which people have seen Master Honen in one place or another as a manifestation of the Bodhisattva Seishi. The Bodhisattva Seishi is an ultimate in wisdom, so he appeared simply as light. She did not, and Eshinni did not say anything about her husband being Kanon Bodhisattva Kanon, but in her own mind, she never looked upon him from that day forward, from the day forward in any ordinary way. So maybe Eshinni was too shy to tell him that he is a Kanon, Bodhisattva Kanon, which represent Amida's compassion. So since then, she couldn't see him as just the ordinary person. As she heard in her dream, she truly believed that Honen Shonin was a human embodiment of Seishi, Bodhisattva Seishi, because he led Eshinni and Shinan Shonin to Nembu's teaching, and Shinan Shonin was a human embodiment of Kannon, Bodhisattva Kannon, maybe because Shinan Shonin was very kind to her. If my family saw the same kind of dream which Eshinni had and heard that I was an incarnation of Kannon, a Bodhisattva Kannon, like Shinan Shonin, they would never believe it, never believe it and tell me so. Yeah, because they know my real personality, included in good and bad sides, well, and they also know that I am the furthest person from the characteristic of Bodhisattva Kannon. So maybe I look at least better. At least better in your eyes, because I'm speaking as a Buddhist minister now. But I'm afraid that I cannot say I'm always a good I can say I'm not always good person even without this robe. Yeah. So people surrounding you, such as your family and friends, know about you much better than what you know about yourself. But as long as Shinny has seen her Shinon Shoni for a long time as a family, so I imagine Shinon Shoni was always kind to her, not only to Eshinni, but also to other people, who treated everyone equally with compassion and tried to value Nembutsu in his life. That must have been true. Thus, Eshinni had no doubt concerning Shinon Shonin's birth in the Pure Land. However, his death may have been. There is a well-known story about the man named Bennen of Mount Itajiki in the present-day Ibaraki prefecture. So about 800 years ago, while Shinon Shonin was living in the Kanto area, he frequently took pathways of Mount Itajiki to get the other side of the mountain to propagate his Jodo Shinshu teachings. And the Bennen, who was a mountain ascetic or Yamagishi, Yamagishi is a prime minister, sorry, Buddhist minister in Hawaii, sorry. Yeah, Yamabushi, sorry. And so Bennen was increasingly getting envious of Shinan Shonin because he was losing a great number of believers of his magic, who are gravitating to the teachings that Shinan was propagating in the area. So Bennen, out of frustration, jealousy, and bitter anger, decided to confront Shinan Shoni and even consider taking his life if the situation warranted. Bennen laid in wait along the mountain path many times, but was never able to meet up with him. He became increasingly frustrated and decided to confront him at his home in Inada. But when Bennen approached Shinan Shonin and met him face to face, Shinan Shonin's true honest and real humanness of compassion struck Bennen's heart, and in realizing his arrogant, selfish, and foolish attitude, and repenting in his evil intention, Benne immediately asked Shinan Shonin to take him as his disciple. Benne was given a name Myohobo and lived the next 30 years of his life, truly rejoicing in Nembutsu teachings. In our daily lives, normally it may be common for us to discard or abandon the disadvantages if it is inconvenient or frightening for you. But Shinon Shonin didn't do that, like in the story about Benne. Eshinni knew Shinon Shonin very well because she had lived together and seen his attitude for a long time. That is why Eshinni shared Shinon's way of living with their daughter in letter and encourage each other to live their lives by following Shinon Shonin in hearing the Nembutsu teaching. So after Shinon Shonin's death, her daughter Kakushinni wanted to keep Shinon Shonin's teaching alive, and perpetuated it for his followers, just like her father Shinon Shonin did. At first, they just made a small and simple grave for him, for Shinon Shonin, according to Shinon Shonin's will. But people didn't stop coming and visiting there day by day. So eventually, Kakushini built the temple enshrining the image of Shonin. As a result, the Nembutsu teaching began to reach more people. And about 50 years later, uh, the mausoleum became an official temple and was named as Honganji. The Honganji Temple has developed into the Jodo Shinshu school as one of the largest and most powerful Buddhist schools in Japan. And the Kakushinni's foresight and deep appreciation toward the Nembutsu teaching saved Shonin's work and established a foundation of Jodo Shinshu. So Eshinni was extremely dedicated in her support of Shinon Shonin, as seen in her letters. She made it possible for him to commit his life to spreading and writing the Nembutsu Dharma. Because of Lady Eshinni's and Lady Kakushinni's vision and devotion in supporting Shinon Shonin and his teachings, the Honganji has transmitted the Nembutsu teachings for many generations. Buddhist Women's Association around the world have long recognized the critical roles played by Lady Eshinni and Lady Kakushinni. Those two ladies are real witness of Shinon way of living and shared a long time with Shinon Shonin. Thanks to their support and devotions, we are now able to hear the same teaching with what they appreciated. Support reflect upon our lives. What we already received here is all gifts. Each of us was born as a child of our parents. But looking back further, there are countless ancestors before our lives. And we are able to be born a human being thanks to this connection of each life. And we have been nurtured by connections with others in their works and attitude, behaviors. How about our gasho? How come you can do gasho? Maybe your parents or grandparents and your friends taught you how to do gasho or how to chant, how to read sutras. Our lives are nurtured in many relationships. So I believe that that you can see yourself in a immeasurably big connection. So even in our teaching, thanks to our founder Shinon Shonin and his wife Eshinni, Kakushinni, and each Dharma friend, we are able to share Amida's great wisdom and compassion with everyone here and now. They nurture our lives through our hearing and teaching, chanting sutras, and reciting Nembutsu with Gasho. Let us appreciate it together. Thank you for listening. So I'd like to conclude this Dhamma talk with Gasho. Please join me in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida
Namo
Butsu.
Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Mikame, for your Dharma message this morning. This was the first time that I had heard about all parts, and you gave us an example of one of them, these mysterious circles, the how, the when, and why. The mystery of all of Shinran's life probably would not have been related to us without the letters of Eshinni, and that these letters were discovered in 1921. Thank you for sharing us the story of Eshinni's dream and the story of Bunnen, his jealousy, and how he does a 90-degree turn and becomes a disciple of Shinran. And Kakushinni's contribution to begin the Hongwanji. Thank you very much for your message today. This will conclude the service. Eshinni and Kakushinni represented women of the Kamakura era who were confident and actively participated in the history of Japan. Lady Kujo co-founded the Fujinkai with her sister-in-law, and Lady Yoshiko Otani is recognized for her scholarship and for her work to promote and revitalize the Buddhist Women's Association worldwide. She inspired the 5 districts to rotate and hold a World's Women's Convention every 4 years. BCA hosted the last one in 2019. The next World Convention will be held in Kyoto, Japan in 2023. After this service is over, I would like to invite you to the question and answer session with Reverend Mikame, which will follow immediately. You will need to log on the link for this session. Couple of announcements. BWA is again having a fundraiser of Seas Candies. Joyce Iwasaki is in charge. You can order through mid-December and contact any BWA member who is selling. By now, BWA members should have received a flyer. BWA's community outreach is the Silicon Valley Strong, an organization to give a caring hand to people in need during this pandemic. It is a county-wide and act as one team to help those in need with food, small businesses, rent, or mortgage. The drive will end on December 31st. Thank you to Kathy Sakamoto, Janice Doi, and Karen Akimoto for initiating this fundraiser. Also, thank you to Barbara Sasaki for mailing the flyer to us. Again, I would like to thank our guest speaker, Reverend Mikame and Rinban Sakamoto. Thank you for all of you who participated in this morning's special service. For those of you who would like to link in to the question and answer, it will follow immediately after the closing of this service. Now I would like to ask Rinban Sakamoto for the
Thank you, Sumi, and thank you again, Mikame Sensei, for your Dharma message today. As we conclude, will you please join in Gassho and Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. The only kind of announcement I have is that the question and answer will be with BWA members, and the BWA members who are participating in this Q&A with Mikame Sensei should have received the link. So although it's an opportunity to hear, we thought that since it was going to be initially, it's traditionally a BWA service, that we would do something special for the BWA, and we would provide this opportunity to spend some time with Mikame Sensei. So the Q&A session will be provided to the BWA members. Again, thank you very much for your continued participation in these virtual services, for your continued interest in the Buddha Dharma. Again, thank you very much, everyone. See you next time. Thank you.